welcome back to my channel. I really need to work on uploading videos, but you know, life gets in the way. So today we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons why Ron Weasley has ADHD. It seems you guys have really liked my neurodivergent headcanons that I did of Luna Lovegood, so I thought why not do some more, and so today I'm focusing on Ron Weasley. Sorry about that, Jaeger wants to be involved in the process, which is this little guy right here. So the first reason why Ron has ADHD is impulsivity. He's arguably one of the most impulsive characters in the whole entire Harry Potter series. And one example of his impulsivity is when in the second book he has his broken wand because of the Whomping Willow that had snapped in half and he had taped back together. He tried to curse Draco Malfoy to eat slugs because Draco called Hermione a mudblood. Now, the sentiment is nice that he wanted to defend Hermione, but if he really thought things through, one, he'd get in trouble for cursing somebody, and two, he has a broken wand. A wand that has been defective the whole entire year before this incident. Now, with a curse like eating slugs, I wouldn't want to be throwing up slugs, but that's just me. There are plenty other ways to take revenge, but that also speaks to his house sorting of Gryffindor, the wanting to defend someone, but at the same time, you can defend someone without cursing them to eat slugs. So that's one example of how Ron fits kind of the idea of being impulsive. Number two reason why Ron has ADHD is because of his executive functioning. If you don't know what executive functioning is, it is kind of the ability to start tasks and to organize your thoughts. And Ron doesn't do a very good job at either of those. So, for example, homework. He will get obsessed with something and then won't be able to start homework. Part of that's because he doesn't like to do homework, but part of that is because he just can't start the task. He gets so bad, like in the fifth movie, I don't know if this happened in the book, I can't remember exactly, but I know in the fifth movie, he's begging Hermione to do the paper for him because he hasn't started and he's overwhelmed, and she agrees to write the introduction for him. So that's just one minor example. There's plenty of other examples of trouble with executive functioning, such as forgetting to take care of oneself, which I don't know if that's so much of a problem for Ron. I know in some instances, like he can't get out of bed because he wants to keep sleeping, or he eats too much, but eating too much doesn't fall under kind of the umbrella of executive functioning. So the number three reason why Ron has ADHD is because he's easily distracted. Ron, kind of his attention's all over the place. So Ron zones out in class a lot, or he's kind of not aware of the room. For example, in the fourth book / movie, Ron is in the dance hall thing, wherever they're learning the dance. I can't remember what exactly that was called. And he kind of zones out and he starts talking and making snide comments, and then McGonagall calls on him to do the dance. So things like that. He's easily distracted. He doesn't, kind of not aware of his surroundings some of the time. The fourth reason Ron has ADHD is because hyperfocus. Hyperfocus is kind of the phenomenon of having something you cannot get your mind off of. It's very common in neurodivergent people. Hyperfocus is a fixation. So for example, Ron kind of had a fixation with Hermione's cat, and the cat was going to kill Scabbers, and he could not give it up. It didn't matter what was going on, he was focused on that cat. That's a example, kind of a silly example of hyperfocus. I'm sure people in the comments can give some better ones, but that's just what comes to mind for me. Reason number five why Ron has ADHD is that he has a hard time maintaining relationships. How long did it take for him to ask Hermione out? How long did it take for him to actually become friends with Hermione? How long did it take him to find a date for the dance, which he didn't even do, that Harry did for him? If you look at Ron's and Hermione's relationship over time, you can see there are obvious places that Ron was unable to maintain the relationship. Even like the first time he and Hermione really had that argument in the first book where Hermione overheard Ron talking bad about her. he was unaware that she was even there, and like maybe he would need her for something in the future, but he could have permanently I'm sorry, Jaeger, permanently damaged that relationship. But he didn't, luckily, because there was a troll there. But he lacks tact when it comes to relationships and awareness of other people's feelings. The sixth reason why Ron has ADHD is due to rejection sensitive dysphoria, which is also known as RSD, which is common in ADHD. It's not a diagnosis in the DSM-5, but it's related to ADHD, where you want someone to like you, or you need to feel like people like you, or else you get a volatile emotional reaction when someone says you do something wrong or when you're rejected. So Ron, especially with Hermione, had those volatile reactions. He also had insecurity with Harry, like especially when they were fighting in the 4th book. He had a lot of issues, and he wouldn't even talk to Harry because he thought Harry thought he was so much better than him and rejected him. And also I think about the Horcrux that turned into Hermione and Harry as if they don't need Ron anymore. And that's kind of the core of rejection sensitive dysphoria, feeling like people don't need you, that you're rejected and you have an extreme emotional reaction to, which is super common in people who have ADHD. Number 7, trouble regulating emotions. So Ron obviously is impulsive, and he kind of rules by the emotions that are inside of him. And that is very interesting to me because a lot of times people will write it off as being a redhead or something like a stereotype. But he has trouble regulating, I'm sorry, Jaeger. Yankees, hi. Ron has trouble regulating his emotions, so he will often have bad reactions, or yelling, or being upset over silly things. I cannot tell you how many times he's fought with Hermione. It comes to mind the 3rd book with with Scabbers and everything, and how badly he reacts to that sort of deal. Just emotionally, Ron has issues. The 8th reason why Ron has ADHD is he has trouble with time management. What teenage guy does not have issues with time management? I don't know, but at the same time, for Ron, he puts homework off to the last minute. He makes excuses for certain things. I remember when they were gonna go see the Quidditch World Cup, he couldn't get out of bed, even though that's like an event he's excited for. He has poor time management skills. Number 9, why Ron has ADHD. Organization is not his strength. Look at all of his stuff, look at how he kind of keeps things and how he's losing things, and some of the losing's not his fault. Like him losing Scabbers was not always his fault. Some of that was because Peter Pettigrew was hidden in Scabbers, not in Scabbers, but as Scabbers. That's a better way to put it. He was hidden as Scabbers. So that's part of the reason that situation happened. The 10th reason why Ron has ADHD is anxiety. That boy's an anxious mess. There is no doubt in my mind that Ron has anxiety, even though it's not strictly stated in the books because, well, let's face it, J.K. Rowling is not the most diverse writer. She doesn't understand mental illness. She doesn't understand LGBTQ plus people. So that's her. But again, I could go into a whole video on why Ron has anxiety, and maybe I will. But anxiety can be part of ADHD. It can be linked. And Ron is afraid of everything. Ron has anxiety about most things. He's brave, sure, he's a Gryffindor, but at the same time, he has intense fears. He's got a spider phobia. He also has anxiety, social anxiety about situations, about asking girls out. His fear of rejection feeds into his anxiety. He also has anxiety just about everything, about the school year, about homework. You name it, he's an anxious mess. But that's the 10th reason why Ron has ADHD. So there you have it. Those are the top 10 reasons why I think Ron Weasley has ADHD. If you disagree, that's fine too. I want to hear your opinions and educate me on things that I may not know. Again, some of this research is old from my other video about Luna, where I looked at autism for her strictly, but there's also some ADHD resources in there. Most of this comes from my own knowledge. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just someone who has ADHD and a slew of other stuff and know what it's like to be in that situation. And I identify with Ron in those ways as having ADHD. Ron is not the character I identify most with, but definitely I have similarities with Ron and his anxiety. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Enjoyed my cute dog who is sleeping in my arms right now because he's tired. He had a play date today. But yeah, have a happy holiday. Bye guys.